What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to build an e-commerce application with ReactJS. I want to make this project a little bit big, but also not that big. I want to make it in such a way so that even the beginners can also learn through it, and also some intermediate developers can also learn from it. Without further ado, I think we should just get started. If the video gets longer, I'm going to convert it into parts, and that would be way much easier for you guys to learn as well, and for me to create as well. All right, without further ado, I think we should get started into building whatever application that we're going to build. So I'm kind of thinking of creating a site that sells books. Let's say that I want to build a website where I can sell all of my books to my customers. Yeah, let's just go with that concept, and let's just create an e-commerce site that sells books. So yeah, when it comes to e-commerce websites, you should have a cart, you should have a checkout, you should have a list of items, you should have the search functionality, so that you can search whatever, in our case, whatever books we want. Another thing that we would want to have is authentication as well, because every user who should have their own accounts from where they can buy that book. Yeah, so I think the first functionality any e-commerce website should have is authentication, the ability to log in user or sign up user. That functionality should be there. And the second functionality would be a search functionality, ability to search through items, and also we should have the ability to display items. And this basically means that that the user should be able to see all the books that are there for sales. The third functionality is the ability to add to cart. Now, every e-commerce website that you're using, might be Amazon, every one of them has a cart which looks like this, I think, something like this. I don't know. But yeah, it's always there in the nav bar. And when you click on it, you go to a page that shows all the items that you have added to the cart. And from there, you also have a button where you can check out those items. And the final functionality would be to handle the payment. So after you add to the cart, you go to the payment section, you fill in the details, and then the payments get you pay for that product, and then after a few days, the delivery guy or whatever comes to you and gives you the product. So from the website point of view, we should be able to handle the payment. So yeah, these four items are extremely crucial for any e-commerce application, in my opinion. And if I've missed out anything, to let me know in the comment section, so that I can create another video where I can add that section as well. And so now let's discuss about the web page, right? The pages that we want to have. So we are going to have the home page that has a combination of both the landing page and the products. So yeah, first thing we are going to have kind of like an image or a showcase section that tells what this site is about. We are going to have a nav bar here, right? And then we can show few books here, and then I just want to have a footer section. So footer section, right? And this is going to be the showcase, and this is going to be the product, right? So this is how our homepage is going to look like, right? So we're going to have the main screen or the showcase section, then we're going to have some product listing, and finally we have the footers. As simple as that. All right, so after the home page, what we want to have is the product page, right, where we show the entire collection of books. So our product page would look something like this. Let's say we have the entire page. You have the footer and you have the nav bar, right? Also, we do have the nav bar and the home page as well, but it's kind of in combination with the showcase section. And then in our product page, we would have all the products here. So in terms of in the form of grids, so let's say we have three items, and then we're going to have a pagination. If you don't know what paginations are basically buttons that you normally see in these kinds of product pages. At the end, you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 dot 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 buttons, such that when you click on that button, the entire products get changed. So basically, if we are on the first page and there are this 9 products, if you click on the second page, which is shown by 2, the next 12 products is going to show up, and that's what we're going to do. So we are going to have a functionality of pagination. So we're going to have a products page right here, and after clicking on any of this product, we are going to show product details page. So product detail, and product detail page is going to be basically the detail of that product. In our case, it'll be books. We are going to have the product in a little bit bigger screen here. In our case, it's going to be books, and then here it's going to be title, the description, author name, stuff like that, and how many pages and all those details. And one thing here is we are going to have a button that says add to cart, and when you click on this add to cart, this product is going to get added to the cart. Next page is going to be our cart page, and this cart page is going to have basically all the items that we have added to the cart. Basically all the items that we have added to the carts with a little bit of description and their amount. And one thing about this cart page is that we are going to have to do some calculations here. Calculations as in, it's not going to be like intense calculus stuffs. We're going to have simple additions. Like for example, whatever items that we have in the cart page, we have to add all of them to make the total, so that functionality should be there because we need that amount in order to make the payment, right? So after that cart page, we are going to do the checkout, right? And we're going to have a checkout button somewhere over here, checkout button, and then we are going to check out do the payment process, right? And by payment process, we are going to use an API because we are not going to handle the functionality of the payments. That would be insane. We are going to use an API for that, probably Stripe, but let's see what happens. And for that, we might have to have a page for checkout page, and we are going to have the payment details where you add the card details. Yeah, this is going to be the address, and this is going to be the card details if you are making an online payment. Finally, after the checkout, like we are going to, since we're going to use an API, it's going to, like, we are going to send an API to the third-party library that's going to handle our payment. And then after the payment is done, we are going to show a success pop-up, maybe saying that your order has been confirmed. And then I think that's it. And we can have like an order page, right? Something like my orders, where whatever like products like that you have bought is going to be there. So that would be my orders, and like if it has not been received to you, we can say that the order is pending, or like delivery has not been done. Like if it has been physically delivered to you, then we can say that the order is received, right? Now normally, like we would have admin site as well that's going to handle this, but let's see if we can do that in this project or not. And also I've missed out on one important part, which is the login and the sign up. But like, yeah, we are going to have like a generic login and like generic sign up pages, right? And after that, we need to like authenticate the users and send them back to the home page. Now the users can also visit our website, like if he or she has not been logged in, but we won't be able to make the payments. So like we can't show the cart page or like the checkout functionality, so we need to have some protected routes as well. But yeah, we can show the product detail, the products, and the home page to them. But like every time when they click on this add to cart or like buy now button, we need to kind of like give them a pop-up or something like that saying like you have to sign in order to make payments, and like redirect them to the login page, right? We need to have functionality, something like that. So yeah, basically this is, I think, kind of like a blueprint of what we are going to build. It might have been like a little bit longer, I don't know guys, but it's very important to plan your project before getting started, so because like things get really easy while developing. Like you won't have to think much because everything you have because all the thinking you have already done beforehand, right? And yeah, this is it. So we're gonna start making this. Alright guys, so now since our planning has been completed of what we're going to build, let's start to actually build the application. The first thing is we are going to set up our React environment, and for that we need to create a folder. So let's go to our desktop. You can go create folder anywhere you want. I'll just create it in my desktop. So let me create a new folder and let's just say book ecommerce. Now we can actually like bring this folder in our VS Code. I've never tried actually dragging the folder and checking this out. It works. Okay, so you can actually drag and drop it in your VS Code. You can like bring that file from open folder, whichever you want. Just like open this folder in the VS Code. So the first thing like I need to do is create a React boilerplate, right? And I think create React app is the best way to go. So let's just open a new terminal here, and let me just add npx create React app, and I'll just hit a dot. Now, like npx create React app is a command that like installs the React boilerplate in your or the React environment inside your folder. The reason why I'm adding a dot here is because I want the entire files to be inside this book e-commerce folder. Like if you had written something like book here, what will happen is that it will create a folder called book inside this book e-commerce folder, and then inside this book folder it will add all the React files. But we don't want that. I just want all the files to be inside this book e-commerce. That's why I'm just adding a dot, and if I hit enter, the React boilerplate will get installed. Here it's saying need to install the following packages, so I'll just proceed with Y, and now it will install all the files. Okay, so finally, as you can see, the React environment has been set up with the help of create React app. Here you can see all the files and the folders that are there, but the entirety of the React is going to be inside this source folder. First things first, what we're going to do is we're going to do some cleanup, because by default React comes with a little bit of like the source files, and there are like some logos and whatnot. So like let me show you the output of this file currently. So let's just start the server and see how it looks like by default. So if I say npm start and if I hit enter, this is going to start our React server. And you can also see in the package.json that you have this start scripts, the npm start that we did just now. What it's going to do is going to call the React scripts that is going to start the server. Okay, as you can see that the server has been started. This is a server link in port 3000. What you can do is you can control and click this link in order to open it in the browser, and or by default, like once you start the server, link will be automatically generated and you'll get this screen. So like this is the basic output of any React environment. I think you guys probably know it by now. This is to explain like some of new React developers who are coming to learn React. But like we don't need this right now because we need to create, remember, we need to create our own website. Yeah, so let's do some cleanup. So the first thing we're gonna do is we are going to remove everything that is there inside the source folder. So let's just delete everything. Yeah, and let me also remove everything that is there inside the public folder. Okay, so yeah, and you will get this like compilation errors and whatnot, and that's fine. So now let me create a new file inside the public folder which says index.html, right? And inside the source folder, let me add index.js, which is the main JavaScript file from which we are going to send our React components to our HTML, right? Because the browser does not understand React. The browser only understands HTML. And basically, whatever browser is rendering is this index.html. But through React, what we are doing is we are passing the entire React components inside this index.html. I'll tell you how we'll do that. But first, let's just create this index.js file, and let me also create app.js file. So from that entirety of the collection, like these three were the ones that were really important. So in our index.html, we'll create a simple HTML boilerplate. So if you're using VS Code just like me, what you can do is you can hit an exclamation mark right here, and if you hit enter, this will create a basic HTML boilerplate, right? And this is basically done by an extension called Emmet, and it comes by default through VS Code. And if you're using any other code editor, you might have to install this, or you can just hard code it. It's your choice. So let me just change this title for now. So in our title tag inside, we are going to write our site name. So let me just like search a really cool name for a website. So I'm gonna say cool book store name. Okay, 500. Like Google's there for everything, you know. Okay, catchy books names, the book spot, the story keeper, last chapter. Oh, I really like the last chapter one. Like bookworm is okay, it's like short and concise, so I'm gonna use bookworm. Okay, so let's not stress our minds into figuring out the names. We just need it for our website, so let me just add bookworm. Yeah, and that's it for our title. You can see that the title has been changed. And now what we're going to do is we are going to create a div here. Now we need to set an ID here, and we need to set that to app. That's it for index.html. Coming to our index.js. Now here what we're going to do is we're going to build a little bit of setup. As I said earlier, index.js is a main file that's going to transfer your entire React application. It kind of compiles to HTML and then sends like inside this div tag. So that's what index.js is going to do here, and we're going to do some configurations. So first thing I'm going to call here is import React from React. So, and the next thing that we're going to import here is React DOM. So we're going to say import React DOM from React DOM / client. So we are going to import React DOM from here, and let me just change the name to capital ONM. And React DOM is basically the library that is going to send your React files to index.html. The way we do this is by using a method called create root. So React DOM dot create root, yeah, and inside it we are going to target our like the div basically that is inside this HTML, and that is why I said we need to have an ID, because we are going to target with the help of ID. So we're going to target this div. So we're going to say document dot get element by ID, yeah, get element by ID. And here inside this we are going to specify the name of the ID, and in our index.html it's app, so we are going to add app, and this we are going to save it inside a variable called root. Okay, so now our connection with the JavaScript and the HTML is done. Now what we need to do is we need to pass the entire like the React files, not the React files but the React components inside the HTML, right? So the way we do that is by saying root dot render, and inside this render we are going to pass our main root component. Now the main root component is going to be our app.js file. So basically a root component is that this is the main like the topmost tree of our component tree. Okay, like above it like there is nothing apart from index.js. So we are going to call this app.js inside our index.js, and the way we do that is by saying import app from, and we need to specify its location. Now since they are on the same folder, we can just say app.js. okay, and now we need to bring this app component inside this render method. So we are going to add app here, and this is how you specify components. And inside our app.js, let's just create a simple functional component. Okay, so I'm going to say import React from React, and I'm going to say const yeah app equals to, and we are going to return, let's just add a div, and inside of it let me just add text, so h1, and inside this I'm going to write hello world. Hello world. There you go. So let me just save it. Oh, I haven't exported it, so let me also export default app, because unless you export this app from here, you won't be able to import it from here. All right, so in order to import a component, you have to export that component as well. So if you save this, okay, I'm still getting an error, can't resolve app.js in user. Okay, I think I'll need to here, while locating app.js, instead of directly writing app.js, we have to give dot slash, and you don't need to add js here, you can just say dot slash app. So dot slash means the current folder that you're in. So since we are inside the source folder, dot slash refers to the source folder itself, and then we are locating the app file inside the source folder. And if we save this, there's no error, the error is gone, right? So if you look this in our browser, let's see. Oh yeah, there you go, the hello world is coming up. So basically what we did was we created an app component, right? And inside this it's rendering hello world, and we are bringing this app component inside this index.js file, and index.js file is responsible for converting the entire JavaScript files to HTML and then adding that HTML inside this div tag. So this is the basic mechanism of how React works. Yeah, so that's the basic development setup that we require in order to start any React application. And now, since our app.js is the main root component, we can't just add a hello world here. So now, since this app.js is our main root component, from here we are going to start building our application. All right, so the next thing that we need to do now is create our routes, right? And because if you think about our application, as I said earlier, we are going to create three things first: the home page, the products page, and the product details page, right? And all of them should be in different routes. And when I say route, I mean to say different sublinks. So in order to create these routes and in order to show a particular component, if you go to a particular route, we will be requiring something called React router. And because React by default does not come with a router component or a router functionality, we have to install React router, which is a different library or a different package, and then we have to install it in our our React project, and then we have to work along the way. But that's very simple and it's not that difficult. So first we are going to install our React router and we are going to set up our routes. And so for that we need to go to our terminal again, and since this terminal is currently running, we're going to create a new new terminal. This will keep running, we're going to create another one, and inside this we are going to npm install, and we are going to install something called React router DOM. Okay, and don't forget to hit the hyphens. So we're going to install in React router DOM, and if you click enter, it's going to get installed. All right, there you go. React router DOM is installed. If you go to package.json here, you will see that in our dependencies we have React router DOM, and this is basically the current version. And if you go to this node modules folder, which contains all the libraries that our project is currently requiring, you'll see here. And if you go to our yeah, there you go, we have this React router DOM here. So this means that React router DOM is installed in our project, and now we can work with routes. So the first thing we need to do here is basically enclose everything inside our React router, because we want all the components to respond to the routes, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to call a component called browser router, and we are going to call it from the React router DOM itself. So we are going to import browser router. As you can see, the VS Code has automatically added this component here. So we are going to call browser router, and as you can see, it's coming from React router DOM. What we are going to do with this is we are going to enclose our app component, which is the main root component, inside of it. Okay, because what browser router does is that it's kind of like a parent component that once you enclose any component inside of the browser router component, that component is going to respond to the routes. So that's why and that is why we are like enclosing it inside the app component, and routing is generally done in the top level. So here we are going to enclose this app component, yeah, with browser router. So browser router, and inside that we are going to add app. There you go. So now every component inside of this app component as well is going to respond to the React router. So now what we need to do is we're going to import two things, routes and route. So we are going to import routes and route. They are going to come from React router DOM. And basically this route component is the component where we specify a particular route, and all the route components are enclosed inside this routes component. So here I'm going to add route. This component does not require a closing tag. So route component requires two things in order to set up the route. The first thing is the path, which is basically the path of the route. The second thing is the component that is going to render once we go to that path. So let's say in our home page, so let's add a path of slash, and path slash means the root path. So like if you go to a link, let's say www.amazon.com, the first page that opens up once you go to that link, that is basically the root path. Okay, so the root path is generally specified by a slash, a single slash. So this is basically our root path, and the component that we are going to render in the root path is our home page. So now since our homepage component has not been created, so let's just create that component, right? So inside this source, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to name this folder pages. So pages, and inside this pages folder, I'm going to have another folder, and I'm going to name that folder homepage. So homepage, right? And inside this homepage folder, I'm going to create a new file that is going to be homepage.js. So homepage.js. And now let me just create a simple homepage component. All right, so we have created this simple homepage component right here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to call this component, or like import this component inside our app component, because we need it in our like route configuration. Okay, so let's import this. So I'm going to import homepage. So homepage, and as you can see, like after you have created the component, the Visual Studio Code actually like gives us the pop-up here, and if you click enter, it's going to like, you know, specify the path automatically. Okay, so what we're doing here is we are going inside the pages folder, and from the pages folder we are going inside the homepage folder, and from the homepage folder we are going inside to the homepage file where this component lives. So now since we have imported this homepage component, we are going to add this component inside our route. So here what we need to do is we need to create a prop called element, and inside this element prop we are going to add our component, which is the home page. So home page, and this is basically how you set up a route. So now whenever you go to this path, this component is going to get rendered, and we also need to enclose this route inside routes. Okay, and yeah, so this is a basic React router setup. First you like import a browser router and then enclose everything inside of the browser router. Then you need to call the two components, routes and the route, and route is basically the component where you configure the routes that you want, and all the route should be enclosed inside this route component. Okay, and this path prop is basically the path that you want to go to, and the element is basically the component that you want to render once you go to that particular path. Okay, so this is the basic setup of React router. So if you go to our browser, you can see you have this homepage text. That means the component is being rendered on the root path. So if I go to localhost 3000, which is currently our root path, we are going to see the homepage text. And there you go, guys, we have just configured React Router DOM. So now our homepage is set up. The route for our homepage is also set up. Now I'm also gonna set up the routes for the two pages, that is the product page and the product details page. Okay, so if I go to my app.js, I'm going to create another route, and I'm going to add a path, and this time it's going to be slash, and let me just add books. Okay, so this path is basically going to be our books page, where we are going to show our entire books, right? So, and the element is going to be books page. And since this is also a page, we are going to create it inside the pages folder. Inside this pages folder, I'm going to create another folder, which is going to be books page. And inside this folder, I'm going to create a file that is going to have a name of book page. So book page dot js. Okay, and inside that, let's just create a simple component, books page. So books page. Okay, so we have created a simple component. It's the same process that we did with the home page. We're going to import here, so import books page, and we are importing from this pages inside from this book page folder, and we're going to call it we have already called it here, so this should work as well. So if you look now, if I go to localhost 3000/books, we should be able to see a book page text. So if I go here, there you go, it's books page text. But for now, we have created a path for our homepage and the books page. Now we are going to create a path for our books detail page. Okay, and like the books detail page is going to be a little bit different, because every time you click a particular book, you are going to a page that is going to show that particular book. Okay, for example, let's say you have a book called Harry Potter part 1, which is the Philosopher's Stone, right? I hope you guys have read that book. So if I click on that particular book, it should lead me to a book detail page that shows the detail of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And like if there is another book, let's say Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and if I click on that book, it should lead me to a details page that gives the detail of the Chamber of Secrets book. So for that, we need to have a dynamic route. By dynamic route, I'm just basically saying we need to have a page where we are getting the data dynamically, and for that we need to pass a special ID to the route itself. Okay, so what we're going to do is, along with the particular page, along with the particular route, we are also going to pass a special ID, and that ID may be anything, that depends on us, but yeah, we need to pass an ID along with that route. To do that, we are going to create a route again, and we're going to add a path here of slash book hyphen details, and I'm going to add a slash, and now I'm going to create a route for that particular that special ID. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a colon, and then I'm going to write ID. Like, it's very hard to explain right now. The best way to help you understand is by showing you. So let me add an element here, and let's just add a component of book detail page. Okay, now we haven't created this component, so we are going to create it again. And since this is also a page, it is going to be inside the pages folder. I'm going to say book detail page, and inside this book detail page, I'm going to add a file called book detail. I think it should be s book details. Okay, so book details.js, and here also I'm going to rename it to book details. Yeah, let's just go with the consistency. So inside this book details, I'm going to create a simple component again, as we did with books page. So let me just copy this entire thing, and in our book details, I'm going to paste that, and instead of this, I'm going to change this name to book details. Yeah, and I'm going to change the name here as well. So book, not books, book details. Okay, and here instead of book page I'm going to say book details page. Okay, and instead of this books I'm going to say book, just going up with the consistency. Yeah, let's just save that. And in our app.js now we need to import that particular page, so let's just import it, book details from slash pages slash book details page slash book details. I hope you're understanding the how we are specifying the location of that particular file, right? Although the Visual Studio Code does it automatically for you, you should also be able to locate files. So with dot slash we are going inside the pages folder, and then we are going to the book details page, and then we are going to the book details file. From there we are importing book details. Okay, we have added book detail page, so just say book details page, book details page. Okay, and now I'll show you what I mean by this ID. Okay, so if you go to our file, okay, module build failed. Okay, so module build failed. I get it, because I think I haven't added a closing tag here. Let me just save it. Yeah, there you go. So now if you go to this particular route, okay, which is the slash book details slash ID, and let me just add slash book details. Yeah, let's book details, right? And if I hit a slash, and now if I add anything, if I write anything here, or if I write any number, any word, like and if I hit enter, it's going to lead me to a books detail page. Okay, there you go. Now you are in the book details page. And instead of this number, if I write any like number again, and if I hit enter, it's still going to lead me to books detail page. And this is basically what dynamic routes are about. So whatever thing that you pass here, it's going to get accepted. And the reason why we are doing this inside the book details page is that we are going to pass an ID in this route. Instead of this number, we are going to pass an ID, maybe like one, or maybe like a particular unique ID, who knows. But we need to pass this ID in this route, and through that ID we can get the data of that particular book, and we can show different books in this page. Okay, depending on what the user wants, we can show different books in this page, every single page for every single books. The beauty of this dynamic route is that we can create a single route, we can create a single component, and then we can add multiple datas for different books inside these components with the help of IDs. Okay, so this is what this route is all about. So we have also created the route for the book details page, and this is basically a dynamic route. Other two routes are static routes, and we have created the routes for the home page, book page, and the book details page. So we are 10% I think there. Okay, so finally the routes are set up. For now we are going to like stop here in terms of routing. We're going to come back again for if to create different to create other pages as well, but for now we are going to stop it right here. Now what we're going to do is build the site, I mean the UI. Okay, so we're going to start with home page, and then we're going to do the books page, and we're going to do the books detail page. So now comes the stylings and the HTML or the JSX part. So now for the UI, let's start with the home page. Okay, let me close everything for now because the routes are set up. Let's just go to the home page. Okay, currently it's just rendering this home page text, and let me just go to this route. Now for the home page, as we discussed earlier, what we want is, first you would want a simple showcase. Okay, I'm thinking of having a search query field as well. Then we have a small product listing section, and then we have a simple footer. Okay, nothing much, nothing fancy. So for that, let me add a section here first. Okay, not definition, section. So first, I think I would want a showcase section, and I would want the navbar to be inside of that section. Yeah, let's see how it goes. But first, like, let's just fetch an image. So let's just go to Pixabay And Pixabay is like a free, like a site that provides free images that you can use. So let me add book here. This is also good. Yeah, let's just use this. Okay, free download. Yeah, and like if you want the image of the link to this image, I'll just like put it on my description below. So now let inside our like folders, let me create an asset folder. Okay, an asset folder is basically where you add all the like images and the files. So inside our source folder here, let me create a new folder called assets. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to like copy and paste this folder inside the assets folder. So let me just quickly do that. Let's just go to desktop and book ecommerce source assets, and inside this I'm going to paste that file, image file, and let's just remain, you know what, I'm just going to rename it from the editor itself. Let me close this for now. Inside the Visual Studio Code, now if you click on this folder, you'll be able to see that file because we just copied and pasted it there. So let me just rename this file. Yeah, there you go. Let me just rename it to showcase bg. Okay, yeah, that would work. So now we are going to create the showcase section. So instead of like creating the entire thing inside the home page, what I would want to do is like create a component and then bring that component inside the home page. Yeah, we can do that. So let me create a showcase component. So inside this source folder, we can create a new folder called components, right? And inside this component folder, I'm going to create another folder called layouts, and inside the layouts folder we are going to basically like add the layouts of the website. And since showcase is also a layout, we are going to add the showcase inside the layouts folder. Okay, and inside this layout folder I'm going to create another folder called showcase, and inside that, let me just bring this a little bit far. Inside that, I'm going to create a new file called showcase.js. Okay, now I know I'm creating a lots of folders inside folders, but as your application becomes large, it's very difficult to handle files. So it's good to have a particular file inside a particular folder that does a particular task, right? So that's why I'm creating a lot of folders. So let's create the component now. So now we have created this showcase section here. We can call this inside the home page, right? We can say import showcase from okay, showcase from dot dot slash, meaning we are going of one folder back. So since the home page is inside this home page folder, dot dot slash mean we are going back to the pages folder, and then we are also going one back to the source folder, and from there we are going inside the components and inside the layouts, inside the showcase, and inside the showcase.js file. Okay, so that's how we locate one file to another file. So we are going to call this component here showcase. There you go. And now if I just add a simple h2 tag and say showcase, I think it's going to show up in the home page. There you go. Okay, let me just create the markup for now. So let's just add a class name here inside our section container. Let's just add a class name here. So we're gonna say class name, and in JSX you add a class name instead of class. Okay, so let's just add a class name of showcase container, and this is going to be our main showcase container. And inside of it I want to have a div, and let's just add a class name of showcase content. Okay, this is going to have the content of the showcase, and inside the showcase content I want to have a header tag, I want to have a small text, and then I want to have the input field. Okay, so let's just add a header tag. I'll add a h1 here. Okay, so I'm just gonna add buy quality books at cheaper price. You know what, I think it's good to add it inside a paragraph tag. And here I'm going to say best books available. I think that works. And now we need to bring the css, but the first thing is I think I want to have a global styling first, so that I can style the global variables if I need any, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file called index.css here, and I'm going to call that inside index.js. So import dot slash index.css, right. And let's just see if this works or not. Let me just add a background color of black. And let's see. Okay, it's working. So the css is working fine. And now I want to add a default styling of margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing of border box. Okay, this is the generic default styling that you want to have, because by default I don't want any margins or paddings, and also I want the box sizing to be border box. I think I also want to change the fonts, right? So because the serif font doesn't look good, so let's just go to Google Fonts, and let's see what we can get here. So let's just go to fonts, and let me just type buy books here. Let's see which fonts looks good. Okay, this Jiva Mono just caught my eye first. This could be a good, like, a header text. I think we can use this font, hand can grow desk. Okay, for the paragraph text and all. Okay, so we're going to use this combination along with I think yeah, this combination. So let me just add the fonts. So I think we'll be needing light, we'll be needing the regular one. Okay, medium, semi bold, and then bold. Okay, and I'll also be needing where is that font? Yeah, this font right here. So light, regular, medium, semi bold, and then bold. Okay, so these two fonts. And what we're going to do is we are going to import the style, and I'm just going to paste it on the top of index.css. Okay, yeah, and here I'm going to add a by default I'm going to add a font family of, I think we should go with Hanken Grotesque, and Hanken Grotesque. Let's just save and see if this works. Okay, it's working. And for the header files, we'll just add a font family. You know what, we can add a font family here. We can say h1 comma h2 comma h3 comma h4 comma h5 and h6, and then to all of them we can add a font family of, I think it's Chivo Mono. I hope I pronounced it right. Chivo Mono. Okay, so there you go. You have a different font here and you have a different font here. I think these two combination looks good, so we're gonna go with this fonts. So now let's go back to the showcase section, and I think it's time to bring back image. Now for that we need to add another CSS file that is going to style the showcase section, like just the showcase section. And that is the reason, like, I'm creating folders for each sections or each pages, is that inside this folder I'm going to have the JavaScript file, but I'm also going to have the CSS file as well, because I think styling everything and keeping it inside a single file would be a lot of mess, because like let's say if your application becomes large and if you want to handle like multiple files and whatnot, you know, having that entire CSS code, like thousands and thousands of lines of code in a single file, would really be time consuming and would really stress you out. So generally I would like to do the React way, which is like breaking a large problem into smaller problems. So that's why I'm going to style each and every component differently, and if any global styling is needed, I'm going to add that inside index.css. So inside the showcase folder, we are going to create a new file, and that is going to be showcase.styles.css, and we are going to bring that showcase here. So import dot slash showcase dot styles dot css. Okay, now whatever styles that you add here, it's going to be applicable to this showcase section. So let me just show you, like if I like so let me just show you. So if I target showcase container, and for now let's just add a padding of 2 rem. Let's just see what happens, and you can see that like you just have a padding of 2 rem, which means that the styling is working for the showcase section as well. Okay, so that was just to show you. First things first, we are going to have a height of 100 vh, which is the 100 viewport height. That is going to cover the entire screen, whatever screen that you're using. And I'm going to set the width to 100%. That's going to take the entire width. Now I'm going to add a background image. You know what guys, I just came up with a problem that like I was not able to locate assets inside the public folder. So what we're going to do just bring the assets back to our source folder. Okay, so let me just copy this file, or so like let me just cut this file and bring it back again to our source folder. So inside our source folder, let's just paste this file. Okay, so now the assets folder is back in our source folder again, and inside this folder we have the showcase pg. So from our background image we need to locate this image as well. Okay, so and the background image is basically inside our showcase styles.css file. So what I'm going to do is we are going to locate that image file. So we're going to say url, and inside this url we need to add a colon. From here we are going to target the showcase bg.jpg file. So we're going to go 3 folders back, or like yeah, 3 folders back maybe. So 1 2 3, and inside the assets folder we have showcase bg.jpg. And if I save this and if I go to our browser, I think we'll be able to get this file. So now since we have a background image set up, I also want to have kind of like a darker overlay here, because we need to add some text, right? So below this background image we can add a background color, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the value RGBA. Okay, RGBA. So with the help of RGBA we can set the alpha property, which is this A, and we can set it to change the transparency. So what we're going to do is for the first 3 values we're going to add 0 0 0, which will give you a black color, and for the alpha value we'll have to try and test it out. So let's just add 0.5 for now, and let me see how dark it is. Okay, it's not dark. Let's just try with RGB and see if this is working or not. Okay, with RGB it's working. With RGBA, oh, I think it's 1 instead of 0. Yeah, so if I add 1 here, okay, it's not gonna work. Huh. That's not good. Okay, since none of this is working, I don't know, it might have worked, but for me currently it's not working. So what I'm going to do is I am going to create an overlay div inside this showcase section. So below this showcase container I'm going to create a div tag of class name overlay. Okay, inside our showcase.styles I'm going to target that class overlay, and here I'm going to set the height and width to 100%, height to 100%, and width to 100%, And now I'm going to set the background color to this RGBA value here, background color, and here I'm going to set the URL as background image. Okay, so this might work. All right, and if I set it to 0.5, okay, so now we are getting the overlay effect. Okay, and now this is a little bit darker than the previous one. This is what I wanted. Let me just also add a background position of center, and see if this works or not. This also looks good, but I think I like the previous one. Okay, so finally, after a lot of trial and efforts, background image is changed along with the overlay. Now we need to like style the text. So what I have to do now is I have to position absolute this overlay so that it comes out of the flow. And for that I have to create relative positionings to the showcase container as well. So let me just go to showcase style.css and let's just add a position relative to the showcase container. And to our overlay, let me just add a position absolute and let's just give a position of top 0. Okay, and let's just see if this works, and I think we will have this content up right here. There you go, there you go. So you have this content. Now I want to set its width, right? And I want to set this container width to actually like fit up to the content, like how much content, like with how much width the content takes. Like I want the container to be of that width only. So for that, what we need to do is we need to add a width to this showcase content. So we are going to target this showcase content here, showcase content, and then we need to add a width of, I think it's fit content. Yeah, fit content. Let's just save it and see the width now. If I inspect this page and if I see the showcase content, you can see that the width is only, it's taking the width that its child element is taking, right? So that is what fit content does. And the reason why I did that is because we have to horizontally as well as vertically center this section. And the way we do that, I'm like, there are lots of ways to center a div inside a div, but for me the easiest one is using flexbox. So now, so the showcase content, as you can see, is a child component, oh sorry, child element of this showcase container. So, and we are centering this showcase content inside the showcase container itself, because if you can see, this is the showcase content and this entire thing is the showcase container. So what we are going to do is we are going to center this showcase content, and in order to do that, in our parent component, parent element, which is showcase container, what we are going to do here is we are going to display flex, and then we are going to set the justify content property to center, and then we are going to set the align items property to center. Okay, and if I check this out, as you can see, my content is centered. Now what I want to do is I want to make this text big and I want to be on the center. So the first thing I want to do is set the, and since that's the h1 tag, I want the entire h1 tag to be the same. We need to come to the index.css now, because that is the global styling, and I want my h1 tag to have a font size of, let's trial and error, 30 pixels, 40 pixels works fine. Yeah, I think 40 pixels is pretty good. And instead of this pixel, I think you can like go for rems. So if I add 2 rem or like 2.5 maybe, yeah, 2.5 looks good, and that would be our h1 tag. And we also need to set the font color to white, and for that I don't want to do it inside the global styling, I want to do it right here. So what we're going to do is we are going to call the showcase content again, showcase content, and we are going to target the h1 that is there inside of it. So h1, and we're going to add a color white. If I go here, Okay, so the color is changing, but I think it's being overlapped by that overlay as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a Z index to our showcase content, and I'm going to add a Z index property, and I'm going to set that to 1. There you go. Now you can see that we have a very good contrast. So let me just also add a white color to the paragraph as well. So for that, let's just add showcase content and P. Okay, that's going to target all the paragraph tags inside the showcase content. And since we only have one paragraph tag, it's going to like change its color. And final thing is we are going to center this text. So we are going to add a text align of center. There you go. Let's also add a padding bottom property, padding bottom of 10 pixels. That is way better. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add a nav bar first. Okay, so we're going to add a nav bar here. So let's just create that. So let me go to the showcase section, and we are going to call the nav bar here. We can call it somewhere over here, and we can say nav bar. Now we haven't created this nav bar yet, so we are going to create it now. So we are going to go inside components, inside layouts itself, and now we are going to create a new folder inside layouts, and we are going to say navbar. And inside this navbar we are going to create a new file that is going to be navbar.js, and we are also going to create another file that is going to be navbar.styles.css. okay, so and inside this navbar file we are going to create, again, let's just create a simple component for now. Let's just create a simple h2 for now, navbar, and let's import the navbar inside our showcase component. Import navbar. All right, and let's just, I've already added it, so let's see if this works. Okay, but I'm getting this navbar, but this this is also being centered up. I don't want the navbars to be centered up. The only thing I can do now is add an absolute position to top 0. So let's try that out, right? Let's add a section here. Let's add a class name of navbar container. All right, and let me go to, but first let me also import /navbar.styles.css, and inside the navbar.style.css we are going to target this navbar container. So we're going to say navbar container, and then we are going to absolute position. So position, we're going to set that to absolute. Okay, and then we're going to add a top of 0 for now to check whether, okay, so that's working. So we just positioned absolute to top 0, so now the navbar is on the topmost part, right? And I think we also need to add a, I don't know if it has a width of 100%. Yeah, I think we need to have that width as well, so we need to give it a width of 100%, and there you go. Now it's good. So for the navbar, inside this container I want to have a generic container, so I'm gonna say div of class name of container. Okay, and what this container basically does is it sets the width to 80%, and then it positions itself on the center horizontally. Okay, so it kind of gives that little bit of spacing, because as you can see my navbar is on the far end, and I want it to be a little bit I want to have a little bit of space between the borders, and like the generic container like class would help me do that instead of adding padding left and padding right. So what I'm going to do is inside this container now we will have two things. One is the logo and one is the menu. I want to like make things not that complicated, right? So we can add a an anchor tag, and for now let's just give like a bookworm. Yeah, the title itself, and let's just add an href of hash for now, and let me add a class name of logo itself. Okay, so that is one thing. And now next thing I would want to have is the navs. So let's just create a nav element. I keep saying component. Yeah, let's just create a nav element, and inside this nav element let's just have the links. For now I'm going to use anchor tag, but later on we are going to shift that to the link tag that comes from the React router. So let's add an href of hash here as well, and then add a let's say home. Let's also small this class name. After home I'm going to have the product page, the so product, or you can say books. Let me also add a class name here. So class name equals to nav links, right? And let's just copy that and paste it here, and let's also add a class name here on the nav. So let's just say class name of nav links container. Okay, so there you go. I think this is this is at a base the simple nav bar for our website. So now, yeah, let's just style it. So this generic container that I was saying earlier, I want to style this inside the global styles. Okay, so if you go to index.css, let's just have a container, and I want to set its width to, for now let's just keep it 90%, and then I want to set the margin to auto. And what this will do is, if you go to, yeah, it will like change the width of the container to like 90%, and then it will center it with respect to its parent, which is basically our this entire screen right here. Okay, so along with the container, let me also add some few classes. Okay, and that classes is going to be flexbox classes. So let me just add a flex and justify center and align center. Okay, and this will also be our like a global classes. So what I'm going to do in index.js is I'm going to add the styles for that. So dot flex, and I'm going to say display flex, right? And dot justify center, I'm going to add justify content and add a center value. And for align center, I think you have guessed it by now, I'm going to add align items to center. I'm also going to add a justify between. That's going to have a property of justify content with the value of space between. Okay, so yeah, and in our nav bar, instead of justify center, I want to have justify between. Okay, now let's just see what happens. There you go. You can see that I have the logo here and I have the nav links here. Okay, so now these links are not looking that good. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to change its stylings. So yeah, let's go back to our files. First, let me just change the logo. So let's go to navbar.styles.css. Here I'm going to add a class of logo, and then I'm going to set its first font size to 1.5 dim. I want to make it a little bit big. Okay, that would work. I'm going to set its color to white for now. Again, because of the As you can see here, this color is coming because of the overlay effect, but it's looking kind of good. But yeah, I don't want that to happen, so let's just add a z-index property here. Z-index property to the navbar container and set that to 1. And now you see the contrast is back. We need to remove this text decoration property. So from logo, we need to remove the text decoration because by default it is underlined for all the anchor tags. So now it does not have any text decorations here. Also, I want to like give a font style like this. Okay, so let's just add a font family to, I keep forgetting the name of that. Okay, I think it's Chivo Mono. So let's just go to our navbar, yeah, logo, and let's just add Chivo Mono. If you see this, okay, now we have that font. Also, I would like to set its font weight. So let's just add a font weight of 700. Okay, it's looking good. Next thing I want to style is this link. So let's go to the nav bar and see. Okay, so we have the nav links here. So I'm going to add dot nav links. Okay, so first we're going to set the color to FFF, which is white. So we're gonna say color to, this will give you a white color. We don't need the text decoration as well, so text decoration we're gonna set that to none. For the font size, I think we can give 1.2 rem, so font size to 1.2 rem. And for the font family, it should be as the same, it should be the same. Let's just see how this looks. Okay, instead of 1.2, let me just add 1.1. That's looking pretty good. I also want a little bit of paddings on here, so what I'm going to do is in our nav links, I'm going to add a padding left of, let's say, padding left of, let's say, 20 pixels. Let's see if this works or not. Okay, now what I want to do is, as you can see that this link and this links, they are like right on like the extreme top. I want to have a little bit of padding, so have a little bit of white space. So to do that, let me go to the navbar container and let's just add a padding of 1 rem on top and bottom, and on left and right I just want to have like 0. And there you go, we do have a little bit of breathing spaces here. So whenever we hover onto this link, we need to change the color of that link to know that like we are like selecting that link. So let's just go to nav links and let's just add a hover property dot nav links colon hover, and here I just want to add color, and let's just set that to this color, which is this orange. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, but the problem here is every time we need to have that color, we are writing it in terms of hex code. Like for black and white, it's like very easy for me because for black it's 000 and for white it's FFF. But for colors like this, it has a hex, and you would not want to memorize the hex code, right? So we need to kind of store it in a global variable. We can do that with the help of CSS variables. So what you're going to do is we are going to our global CSS again. So in our index.css, we are going to target the root element. Okay, and the root element is basically the root of the document. Okay, so we are going to target the root element, and inside this we are going to create a variable. So the way we create CSS variable is by having 2 hyphens, and then we can have a variable name. So primary color, so it's basically the primary color of our application, and let's just add a value of this one, and it's basically a hex code which gives kind of like a light orange color. Let's just save that, And in our navbar.style.css, instead of this, right, let's just add a variable. Now since we have created this variable here, right, we can call this variable by with the help of var function. So we can add like var here, and inside this we have to like specify the variable name. So we're gonna say dash dash primary color, and if I save this, there you go, that color is still there. Okay, so now in every time, instead of the hex code, you can add the variable name. Now you don't have to remember the hex code every time, and the beauty of it is if you want to change that color, you can change that color from here, and on every element that this color has been applied, those elements color are also going to get changed. Okay, so that's one amazing thing about it. Now let's also add a transition here, transition of like 0.3 seconds, and let's add ease in. Okay, so if I see this, okay, so it just has a slow transition. Instead of this 0.3 seconds, I'm just going to add 0.1 seconds. That's good. What about 0.2? Okay, this is better. Now I want to change the color of this worm, so let's just go to our navbar, and here let me just add a span tag, right, span, and let's just add the worm inside the span tag, right, and let's just add a class here, class name, yeah, that says text primary. Okay, and this is going to be a global class. Basically this, it adds primary color to the any text. So if you go to index.css, let's just add a text primary, right, and let's just add a color of var, and inside this let's just specify the primary color, and there you go, right there. So if you see this, you're not getting anything. Okay, I wonder why, and that's because I haven't added a dot here, so it's not going to be specified. Now it's working fine. And okay, that's that. Huh. That's that. And now like we are going to come back to this navbar again later on, but for now I'll just leave it as it is. Okay, we're gonna come back again, but for now let's just leave it as it is, because we are into like styling the home screen. We are focused on styling the home screen. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to add that form input here. So yeah, let's just work on that.